can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, I'm going to be talking about Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1 by Cody Ziegler and Federico Vincentini. This issue is a whole new kickoff point for Miles Morales as Spider-Man, with the Saladin Ahmed series having wrapped up and relaunched with this new #1 issue. You can kind of come into this one without really knowing a whole heap of a lot, though I will say it does help if you've at least read some of Saladin Ahmed's work on the previous series of Miles Morales, Spider-Man. But that said, you don't really have to know a whole lot going into this. What you really need to know is that Miles Morales is back in his original costume, which I know a lot of people didn't like the previous costume. I was indifferent to it, but yeah, once again, not everyone liked it. I don't even think that many people loved it. For better or worse, depending on how you look at it, he's in his original costume. And while he's back in his costume, he's fighting with himself on a level I don't think Miles has really truly fought with himself before. He's dealing with a little bit of imposter syndrome, which is one of those things that I know some people can identify with, some people can't. It's something I myself personally can identify with, just the idea that maybe you aren't as good as other people say you are, or as good as you even think you are. You're gonna second guess yourself, your decisions, your choices, everything that you do. You're probably gonna sit back and look at it and go, am I really doing the right thing? Is what I'm doing even worth it? Does it matter? Miles is dealing with that exact same thing, and while he is still able to put pause on Spider-Man villains like the Scorpion and so on and so forth, or even more recent villains that he's encountered like Bumbler, even with Kamala's Law having been done away with, he still has to deal with the recent introduction of the Powers Act, a law circulating in the Marvel Comics universe that is similar in essence to the Superhuman Registration Act, but in practice is probably closer to Kamala's Law, just without the age restriction on superheroes. This is kind of where some of the imposter syndrome comes in, because this is really one of the first times in a long while where Miles has been put to task for saving someone's life and also stopping a supervillain from committing a crime, and then being told by someone in law enforcement that he should have just let the person go because the money that they stole was, for one, insured, and for two, doesn't even amount to the cost in damages that Miles caused just in stopping that one supervillain. This is kind of where the imposter syndrome first kicks off for Miles in this issue. But what I love about this is that there was a villain who was teased when this series was first announced as being relaunched, and it was a new character that has been referred to as Rabble. Now, the name sounds kind of dumb, but once again, supervillain names tend to sound kind of dumb. But Rabble is supposed to be this new character who's going to be giving Miles Morales fits, and we just didn't really know a whole heap of a lot about her. All we know is that she has some kind of high-tech power armor suit that is going to allow her to put hands on Miles Morales in ways that he's not going to be terribly fond of. And as we discover in this issue, we already know who Rabble is. We are introduced to her within the first few pages as what is seemingly a random woman by the name of Reneen, a character who's just kind of out in the world living her life, and then suddenly in the midst of Scorpion trying to commit a crime, Miles Morales saves Reneen from getting killed. And it kind of seems like, oh, that's the end of it. But the beauty of this is that it's not the last that we see of her, because while yes, she's grateful that Spider-Man saved her life, but at the same time it's her who has a vendetta against Spider-Man. She doesn't say anything at the time because she's playing it cool, but we later learn that while Miles Morales is kind of in his own feelings about everything that's going on around him and how he's trying to cope with everything, we later see this same character, Reneen, who has an entire dossier and computer monitor showing tons of different files and surveillance footage of Miles Morales, both in and out of his Spider-Man costume. The real question becomes, what is her beef with Spider-Man? Why did she have all this surveillance on him? Like, what is it that he could have possibly have done to her that would have inspired her to want to take him down, despite the fact that she knows he's a superhero? I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, her reasons may seem petty to some, but being a guy who's petty myself, I totally get it. You see, when Miles Morales originally won the lottery that allowed him to go to the Brooklyn Visions Academy, apparently the person who he bumped out of the way thanks to his lottery win was Reneen. There are certain things that Reneen says that heavily imply, especially based on some things we hear one of Miles Morales' teachers say to him during the course of this issue, that he won the lottery to get there. You'd think that he would be more appreciative of his time at Brooklyn Vision's Academy, and that he would try harder and not think that he was quotey fingers better than everybody else and constantly showing up late to school and turning in assignments late. I'm of the belief that that is exactly why Raneem is going after him. Raneem believes that Miles is the reason she didn't get into the Brooklyn Vision's Academy, and she feels that she is a far more deserving individual than what Miles is. And now knowing that he's Spider-Man and probably even appreciating the fact that he is a superhero, she feels like he's squandering and wasting this opportunity, something that she could have truly used. And while we see her using this, technological marvel of a power suit on the cover of Miles Morales Spider-Man number 3, we also know that she's smart enough that she's been giving gear and upgrades and technology to some of the other supervillains that Miles has been dealing with. While we didn't see her give anything to Scorpion, I do think we're gonna see her end up giving Scorpion some kind of an upgrade later on, but we do know that the character Bumbler, who shows up in this issue, he mentions that someone gave him an upgrade, and when he says who it was, he refers to that person as she, meaning that he very likely got this upgrade from Raneem. And while these upgrades don't necessarily make Bumbler any better at defeating Spider-Man, it makes him more of a threat to Spider-Man than he initially was. In his first encounter with Spider-Man, it was pretty much a one-sided ass-kicking. Now, one comparison a lot of people are already talking about with the character of Raneem is that she's very reminiscent of the Spider-Man Miles Morales game's villain, Phin. And while these characters are not really anything alike other than being highly gifted engineers, they do serve the exact same purpose in a lot of ways, because that was kind of what was up with Phin, is that she was upgrading, her gang and all her minions with all this awesome tech, and it kind of seems like that's what Raneem is going for. And considering how big a fan Cody Ziegler is of the Miles Morales character, I would not be surprised that, there was some inspiration drawn from there. So in a roundabout way, Cody Ziegler is bringing the character of Phin into this comic, but not necessarily bringing the actual character, just bringing the idea of this character, because as far as we know, her and Miles don't actually really know each other, or at least we don't think they know each other, not yet. But whatever the case is, she definitely knows who Miles is. But anyways, that's everything I want to talk about with Miles Morales Spider-Man number 1. We're getting really close to 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hit subscribe and tap that notification bell so you don't miss any videos that I put out. And make sure you Hulk smash that like button because it really helps the channel out. In the meantime, let me know what you thought about Miles Morales Spider-Man number 1. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.